Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of AC Discovery, my weekly Saturday show where I talk about anime and or comics and my discovery of them. My watch-along of Death Note continues this week, but first I want to give a shout-out to Ian from OK Beast and give him a big thanks for having me on the A+ Anime podcast this week to talk about the very first episode of Death Note. A+ Anime is a podcast that Ian and Nato Johnson usually put on together from OK Beast, and they kind of go through like the first episodes of some of the big anime series and rate and grade those on a scale of A+ to F. And with Nato away, Ian invited me to be on this week. I feel terrible because my internet was just being a big old crap fest for the entire evening, but he was able to piece something together. So go ahead and give that a listen if you are so obliged, and give all tons of support to the people over at OK Beast. They're doing great work. You can find that podcast at the link in the description below. So this week's trio of episodes kicks off with Makeshift, in which L's team discovers that the Yotsuba group is indeed meeting in secret to discuss the elimination of individuals that they're finding troublesome to their company. That was kind of the official description of the episode. First thing that I noticed, new opening on this one, which is way more like death metal-y for an introduction song. Not a fan. I immediately was fine skipping it in the next couple episodes because it was just like, and I was like, no, I don't like this. It's just not my cup of tea. So at the crux of this episode, you have L's crew wiretapping into the Yotsuba board meetings, and their suspicions with Yotsuba are indeed confirmed. And Light and his father hear kind of the plan that they're gonna kill another competitor, another opponent in the industry or whatever, and Light kind of makes a rash call and phones into one of the people in the board meeting, pretends to be L, has his voice scrambled and everything like that. He calls Namikawa, one of the board members, and basically pretends to be L and make a deal with Namikawa to say, hey, I know you're not Kira, but if you hold off for a month and help us identify Kira, we'll say we won't press charges against you. We'll say that Kira is forcing you all to do this against your will, if you kind of go along with us and play ball with us. So it was a bold, risky move for Light, but it paid off. Namikawa kind of bought the L's crew time and said, hey, let's L is on to us, so let's go ahead and maybe lay low for a month, and then we can come back and start taking out the competition again. After seeing Light make that kind of move and being a little impressed by it, it asks Light, if I die, will you take over as being L for me? And it turns out that that's yet another trick that L's kind of playing in his game with Light. And Light kind of goes out and explains to everybody in a very, it was a very overly expositional and not like subtly expositional ploy, but Light basically says, well, here's what L's thinking. He's thinking that if I am Kira and just pretending to not be Kira anymore, of course I would take up this offer and move into position. But if the other alternative is that I was Kira and at some point I transferred my powers of being Kira away from me, but with the intent of getting them back once I had eliminated L or something like that. And so it does a good job answering kind of what's been what I've been wondering in the back of my mind is like, okay, well, did he give the powers away? And so obviously he gave the powers away, but did he give them away knowing that he could get them back is kind of what I've been thinking. And based on how Light deduces himself effectively, that does seem like that's what he has done, that he's kind of pushed Ryuk away, but with the intent of bringing his power back, when the time is right or something like that. But we have Light and his father really wanting to kind of move forward with the investigation now and go after the 7 men in the boardroom was 7 down from 8 because they make a point of mentioning that one of the guys who kind of cast doubts in the last episode died. They killed him. Kira killed the 8th member off, so they were already down to 7. And Light and his father are insistent that one of the guys is Kira, so they can just get all of them in one go. But L is adamant that yes, one of them is most likely Kira, but we don't know for sure yet. We just know that they have access to Kira, but we also still don't know how Kira does what he does. So we can't. So L doesn't want to move forward yet. He still wants to kind of gather more information. And Light and his father are kind of on the other side, but because L is still handcuffed to Light, Light is kind of forced to be on L's side. Additionally, L uses Misa against Light and basically says, hey, Misa, you would do anything for Light, right? Okay, cool. So help us track down and figure out who Kira is. You're maybe one of our best bets, our best leads on getting an in here at the Yotsuba group. And so L and Light and Misa kind of all form their own little side thing, while Light's father seemingly is going to do his own little investigation, still using all the same kind of resources and everything, but they're kind of attacking the problem from both angles, it would seem. So that was Makeshift. Up next, we had Performance, where L has had Iber as Geraldo Coil suggest that Misa knows L, and Yotsuba might be able to work with her, and that's kind of been his little plan. And Coil tells them that she worships Kira, which obviously we know she still does. So new Kira, we kind of see him working, in a dark room, killing criminals per the agreement he has with Rem. And he confesses, he admits that he plans to marry Misa. He thinks this woman's beautiful, and if she's second Kira, or if she's, if she loves Kira, he can have, as Kira, he can have, the power, the fame, and the girl of his dreams kind of thing. So he kind of insists on doing that. But in saying that, Rem kind of steals a piece of the Death Note and goes and uses it to re-reveal herself to Misa. Like, she taps Misa with the note, so Misa can see the Shinigami again, but it doesn't restore her memories. But in that confrontation, Rem tells Misa that Light is Kira, and or was Kira, and that Higuchi is the new Kira. Higuchi, one of the board members, and reveals that to the audience, because he's been shown kind of in silhouette, so we didn't quite know who it was, but it's Higuchi here. Elsewhere in the episode, we have Light kind of recognizing that his own thought process matches effectively Kira's kill criteria. So he comments that the new Kira is killing people indiscriminately who have been accused of being murderers or whatever, whereas in Light's incarnation of Kira and how Light would approach the situation, both of them, if the person didn't mean to do it, they would get a pass. If it was clearly unintentional, they would get a pass, that kind of stuff. So but the new Kira does not have such limitations on who he chooses as his victims. There's some funny little moments where we have Mochi taking on the new role as Misa's manager, and he's been introduced and shown in the series so far as very stoic and kind of just big old blocky mountain of a man. And here, playing the role of the manager, he has to be like, oh, Misa, and so excited, and all that stuff. And so it's a fun, 180 that we get to see with him. And we actually have Misa escape him and the protection that he's providing to go out on a date with Higuchi once, his reality's been revealed to him. And Misa admits to being the second Kira. Rem helps her pass the test that Higuchi kind of provides and says, oh, if you're second Kira, prove it, because I'm first Kira, but I'm not going to show you mine if you don't show me yours. And so Rem kills the person that Higuchi wants her to kill to kind of pass off Misa as second Kira yet again. And Higuchi basically agrees to stop killing criminals until Misa says so, to prove that he is who he says he is to her, since he can't necessarily show her without seeming like he's just trying to be a skis ball and get her back to the apartment or whatever. And so with that in mind, he's going to kind of prove that he's Kira to her so he can take her as his bride. And Misa gets it all recorded on her phone as proof for Ellen Light. And so that's a great kind of, like, she has shown herself to be very valuable. And again, she's kind of got the in because Rem has kind of filled her in on a lot of this stuff and kind of laid the groundwork for her. She still doesn't have actual second Kira abilities, but it seems like we're maybe heading back in that direction. So yeah, this is a nice little episode to showcase Misa and her abilities. And then lastly for this week, we have the episode Guidance, which kicks off with basically everybody's kind of buying in that Higuchi is probably the most likely Kira suspect, especially with the added proof that Misa has provided. So Elle has Weddy basically go in and wiretap all of Higuchi's cars and stuff, which Misa points out it's a good thing that they hadn't already done that yet, because otherwise her kind of reveal of being second Kira might have been like a little compromised. And I took the note in this episode that Elle just eats so many snacks, and it's something that I noticed in all three of these episodes, and I've noticed before as well. But he's just like always eating, and they they go all out in kind of making the food look very scrumptious and whatnot. It's a tangent, but Elle comes up with this plan to kind of draw Higuchi out and basically force him to show them all and reveal how he uses the power of Kira and how he can actually kill people or attempt to kill a person, and they're going to use Matsuda as bait, as basically, he faked his death, so now he knows who Kira's identity is, and he's going to go on like national TV and announce it at the end of a 2 or 3 hour special or something like that. And it's very clever the way they kind of do it, because they get Namikawa to tip off Higuchi that, hey, you need to turn this TV on, and they have Matsuda kind of behind a screen, but they fake it and they make it like, accidentally the screen falls over and shows his face, so that Higuchi knows who it is they're trying to kill, but nobody knows, none of the Yotsuba board knows what his real name was, so they need to try and track that down, because it turns out Higuchi has already tried to kill him, just on the off chance that he wasn't really dead. He wrote his name down in the death note anyway, or the name that they thought he had as Misa's old manager. So we get to see Higuchi kind of frantically trying to track down this guy's name. He calls like the agency and he says, what was that guy's real name? I need to know. And they kind of have it pretended that like, the guy's out on vacation or whatever, so he can't get to the guy's personnel files, but here's the code, you can go get them yourself. So we actually leave the episode with Higuchi like in a car frantically trying to get to the agency to pull out the file with Matsuda's alias name in the file, and that's where the episode ends. And it was a super hard cliffhanger, and I was like, oh crap, do I want to roll over into one more episode and turn this into a 4-episode week? No, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off at the 3 and just be very eager to see how things play out. Also, annoyingly, as I was going through like the Netflix episode list, I happened to accidentally catch like descriptions of like future episodes with huge spoilers in them. So that was annoying and friggin' frustrating. So I know some of the things that are happening in the next couple episodes, and that was stupidly like do a better job of hiding key things like that in your like episode descriptions, Netflix. Boo. Anyway, those are my thoughts on these 3 episodes of Death Note. Again, like really high point to end on. It was really tough to not just go ahead and watch the next episode. And I might, before the weekend's end, I might just say, screw it, I'm going to go and watch the next few episodes and then record basically next week's episode of AC Discovery just super early. But it was a ton of fun, these episodes, and I'm very excited to see kind of where the L versus New Kira arc, kind of how that closes up, and where we go from there. So those are my thoughts on these 3 episodes. Let me know what you think of Death Note in the comments below. As I said, you can also follow OK Beast and check out my appearance on the A+ Anime podcast. I'll link that in the description below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.